state molecular dynamics simulation with something very difficult software.
Right, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, first, my name is Seung from UNIXMD. And first, I'd like to thank Michael and Professor Charlotte Choi for giving me a nice chance to talk here. This is nice. Jeju is a very nice place, but currently actually it's very windy, I think. But anyway, so today I'm going to talk about the excited state molecular dynamics simulation with PyUNixMD, and actually the PyUNixMD is the Python-based the excited state molecular dynamics program suite, which actually our group developed recently. So actually today's talk is going to be kind of an advertisement of this software. But let's start. Okay, actually, based on this, with this PyUNixMD software, actually, we want to simulate kind of various things eventually, I mean. So first, actually, the electron transfer or charge transfers in photovoltaic cells, and also the exchange transfers in photosynthesis and kind of the OLED applications with the thermally activated delayed fluorescence, and also the nanoscale polar transport in these nanoscale devices. Actually, they are all, these phenomena actually comes from the correlation between the electron and nuclear motion. So actually the purpose of this PyUNixMD is to deal with this kind of correlated motion between the electrons and nuclei. And first, I'd like to introduce the features, the basic features of this PyUNixMD software. The first one, the major stuff, is this PyUNixMD can deal with the electron-nuclear correlation based on the exact factorization. So this is a very natural handling of the electron-nuclear correlation beyond the conventional classical non-adiabatic coupling. And actually, based on this electron-nuclear correlation, that we can actually provide the correct description of the decoherence phenomena. And also this PyUNixMD is actually written in the Python language. And actually the entire software is actually modularized, and actually it's very easy to use with a simple Python knowledge. And actually it can be coupled to any Python-based program like a PySCF, or of course we can provide many interfaces with conventional quantum chemistry softwares. And also in this PyUNixMD software, actually we provide various the mixed quantum classical dynamics like a traditional surface hopping and kind of decoherence corrective surface hopping like EDC or IDC and so on. So they are actually implemented in this software. So actually my group is focusing on the dynamics with this electronic excited state. And actually, as we all know, right, the key ingredients to deal with this excited state molecular dynamics are following actually. So we need kind of multiple Born-Oppenheimer potential surfaces and the coupling between these two surfaces, which is called non-adiabatic electronic transition, or sometimes internal conversion, or for between the singlet and triplet or different multiplicity state. Then this one is called intersystem crossing, right? And actually with this, the multiple Born-Oppenheimer states with the non-adiabatic coupling, then the wave packet dynamics actually provide very interesting phenomena, which is called nucleotic branching, or the population transfer between one state to the other state, right? Then actually in this nuclear wave packet splitting contains the quantum nuclear dynamics, right? In classical dynamics, there is no splitting because in classical nuclei, right? In classical nuclear description, actually nuclei is fixed at some point, not splitted, right? So we should handle the quantum nuclear dynamics to deal with this excited state molecular dynamics simulations. So actually my group actually focusing on treating these kind of things. So actually to calculate these multiple Born-Oppenheimer surfaces, we actually try to develop kind of many efficient algorithms, quantum chemistry algorithm, and also we focus on the kind of machine learning algorithm to learn the potential surfaces. However, in this talk, actually, I would like to focus on the quantum nuclear dynamics. So actually, I would provide kind of several algorithms, some unique algorithms in the PyUNIxMD software, like namely the CTMQC, the coupled trajectory with quantum classical dynamics, and also the coherence-induced surface hopping dynamics based on the exact factorization, EISH, XF. So actually these two algorithms are very unique in our approach. So what are they? So first, actually, let's look at the exact factorization. So this is, the fundamental idea of our algorithm. So what is the idea? So the idea is quite simple, actually very straightforward. So the idea starts from this equation only. So eventually we have to deal with the quantum mechanical behavior of the electrons and nuclei. So eventually we have to solve what the time-dependent Schrodinger equation for the molecular wave function, which contains what the electronic degree of freedom and the nuclear degree of freedom in time, right? And conventional way to understand the kind of quantum dynamics is based on the Born-Huang expansion, actually, which represent this entire molecular wave function as what the sum of what the eigenstate expansion, right? Where the eigenstate is the Born-Oppenheimer wave function. However, in this exact factorization, actually we represent the entire molecular wave function as a single product of this nuclear wave function chi and the electronic wave function phi. Okay. And here, actually, the important thing is that the chi, the nuclear wave function, of course, we have nuclear variable here and the time dependence here. And actually, if you look at this electronic part, and this electronic part contains electronic degree of freedom, which depends parametrically on the nuclear coordinate. And also here we have time dependence. So this is the difference. Okay. In the conventional Born-Huang expansion, the electronic state, the Born-Oppenheimer state, is not time dependent, right? However, in our expression in this single product, the electronic wave function changes in time. So actually this time dependence actually generates the time-dependent potential energy surfaces. So here, actually, if you look at these papers, but there is some special property of this single product. First, this chi is through the nuclear wave function. And actually, the chi follows the exact time-dependent, this chi actually provides the exact time-dependent nuclear density. And actually, this chi, we can derive the equation of motion from this single product. Then actually, we can derive this equation. And as you can see here, this chi depending on what just single product, a single scalar potential energy surface, and single vector potential, time-dependent vector potential. So this is the unique property of this expression. So compared to the conventional Born-Huang expansion, the nuclear dynamics depends on we need multiple Born-Oppenheimer surfaces, which is time independent actually. However, in this exact factorization framework, the nuclear wave function depends only on one single time-dependent potential energy surfaces. So this is the crucial part. And also, if you look at the electronic part, then actually we can derive very important term, which is called the electron nuclear correlation operator. And we have very, very complicated, formula here. And this is the key term, which can provide the correct quantum decoherence phenomena. And if you actually analyze this term, and you can see actually this term and this term, so we have two terms, right? And actually this first term actually generates the potential corresponding to the diagonal Born-Oppenheimer correction, which is called debug term. And actually this one is very hard to compute actually in practice, so we usually ignore it. And if you look at the another term here, actually this term is quite interesting. So this depends on the nuclear wave function here. And actually if you evaluate this term, then we can write down in this formula. So this term actually is what the sum of the classical momentum, the classical nuclear momentum, and some additional term here. Okay, and this additional term, actually we call this additional term as the quantum momentum term. And actually further analysis provides that this classical momentum actually provides the Ehrenfest equation with some classical trajectories. And we have additional this quantum momentum, which provide the additional correction, additional correlation toward the quantum coherence. Okay, so this is the crucial part of this exact factorization. So the main property of this exact factorization is that we can derive the exact term which provides the electron nuclear correlation. And we will see later that this correlation term actually provides the correct quantum coherence phenomena. And as I said before, the exact factorization framework actually based on the one single potential energy surface, which depends on time. So if you look at this potential energy surface, then we have, well, actually I'm interested in the mixed quantum classical analysis. So the most famous one is what the trajectory surface hopping and the LM-fast dynamics, right? And trajectory surface hopping uses kind of we have some choice of the potential energy surfaces. We choose one single surface depending on what the random numbers, right? And the non-additive decoupling vectors. And LM-fast actually follows the mean field potential here. Then actually, if you based on the exact factorization, we can analyze the exact surface. And what exact surface shows is this one. Actually, after this non-adiabatic coupling region, we have some mean field potential here. The trajectory fields kind of mean field potential here, like the LM-fast dynamics. However, after some time, then after the quantum decoherence, then actually the nuclear fields, one of the surfaces, like a surface hopping dynamics. So this is the shape of the exact potential. Okay. However, if you look at trajectory surface hopping and LM-fast, they are all actually wrong, right? So actually, the exact factorization can handle these exact surfaces, and this exact surface can generate the correct quantum dynamics of the nuclei. So, but is it really true? So actually, we tried to calculate some interesting simulations. So the left one is the exact quantum dynamics result. So we start wave packet dynamics on the upper surface here. Then after the non-abelian crossing region, then actually we have the wave packet splitting like this one. And right panel is actually we run the classical trajectories. Okay, we actually solve the Newtonian equation motions on the single potential surfaces, which is obtained from the exact factorization. So this is the histogram of the classical trajectories. Then as you see here, even with the classical trajectories, we can generate the splitting of the nuclei right here after the non-abelian coupling. So actually, now we know, right? If we can handle the exact surfaces, then actually we can obtain the correct nuclear dynamics, correct quantum dynamics with what the classical trajectories or the kind of trajectories, let's say. Okay. Then after we obtain this one, actually there was a kind of interesting argument about the exact factorization. Actually, when we introduced kind of this exact factorization technique or framework, then some people say, all right, this is formally exact, but how can you calculate the exact surface? If you don't know it, then it's practically useless, right? So where we tried, right? We tried to develop some way to calculate the exact surfaces practically. Then actually we did it. So after some tedious derivations, then what you can obtain is this kind of coupled equations. Okay, so from the several approximation of the previous electron nuclear correlation operators, then what you can obtain is these two coupled equations. So actually this red part, without this red part, the equation of motion is exactly same as the LM-fast dynamics. However, if we put the quantum momentum part, okay, we have this kind of additional term here. So if we systematically approximate these electron correlation operators, then we actually obtain this very nice equation actually. And this term depends on the quantum momentum of the nuclei. So which means this term actually depends on the shape of nuclear wave packet. Okay, so depending on the shape of nuclear wave packet, we have the non-zero, the quantum momentum part, and we have additional electron coupling part here. Then this simple term, this one term actually generates the correct quantum dynamics. So we were happy. So we tried to solve these two coupled equations for the model Hamiltonian. And actually further, actually, we introduce kind of this Born-Oppenheim expansion. So we introduce the coefficient CL here. Then we can write a more practical equation of motion. Okay, because we are now actually at the moment we are interested in the molecular system, so we can calculate the many-body molecular wave functions, right? Then actually we consider the time-dependent dynamics of these coefficients, and also we can calculate the force based on this coefficient. So we can actually simulate these two equations to solve very simple model systems, and it was very successful. We will see later. So the basic idea is the most fundamental question is that how do we calculate this quantum momentum? So if you deal with the classical trajectory, then this one is just delta functions, right? So there is no shape. So how can you calculate this quantum momentum term here? Actually, this is quite straightforward. What we tried is this one. So we tried just putting the Gaussian functions on all trajectories and compute the quantum momentum here. So initially, from the kind of Boltzmann distributions or the Wigner distribution, we can make the initial trajectories, so swarm of trajectories, the initial distributions. Then we run the dynamics. Okay, so each trajectory follows the coupled equations, and then we put the Gaussians on top of this trajectory. And then actually we can calculate the overall shape of nuclear density. Then we can calculate the quantum momentum. Then actually here, the width of the Gaussian changes in time, depending on the distribution of the trajectory. So we actually, in every time, we calculate the distribution of the trajectories and calculate the kind of statistical numbers and calculate the width of the Gaussians. Then in these coupled trajectory algorithms, actually the width of Gaussian changes in time. So anyway, so we run the trajectory simultaneously. Then actually we can calculate the distribution, the splitting of the nuclear density, and also the correct quantum coherence phenomena. So this is the result of the very simple model Hamiltonian. Then the important thing is that from this coupled trajectory approach, we can calculate almost exact result from the quantum dynamics. So this one is the shape of the approximate the potential surface, and the true one is the orange one, and the approximate one is the green circle here. Then they are almost on top of each other. And also we can calculate exact nucleoepic splitting, and also we can calculate the spatial distribution of the coefficient, which is crucial to understand the quantum coherence phenomena. So here we can calculate the correct population ratio, and also we can actually measure the coherence pattern. So for the simple atom-phase dynamics, actually cannot show any, decoherence phenomena. They are always incoherent. Okay. However, the exact one, okay, the green one actually shows the up and down, so coherent and decoherent, like this way. So actually in our algorithm, actually we can describe this kind of coherent decoherence phenomena here. Okay, so we were happy. We tried to the more realistic situations like this auxiliary cases, and this one is the first implementation of the first principle-based calculations. So here we use the linear response TDDFT calculations, and we can actually handle the dynamics of the ring opening of the auxiliary molecules. So actually, this one was implemented in CPMD, but currently we don't deal with CPMD anymore. Okay. And then actually we tried to develop more efficient algorithm to handle this decoherence. So actually the previous coupled trajectory algorithm requires the non-algebraic coupling vectors among all states. However, the surface hopping actually requires the coupling vectors only with the active space. And we don't need to calculate the vectors. We just need the coupling matrix element. And also we have to calculate the Born-Oppenheim forces, which is gradient of all Born-Oppenheim states, which is time consuming. And moreover, the important thing is that the electron structure calculation should be very, very stable for all trajectories, because we run all trajectories simultaneously. So if one trajectory fails to calculate the Born Oppenheimer state calculations, then entire trajectory fails to run. Okay, so this is actually very, very critical. So actually, we try to develop more efficient algorithm based on the surface hopping. So this one is the decoherence into surface hopping based on the exact factorization. So the basic idea is simple. So we know the surface hopping dynamics, the conventional surface hopping dynamics can handle the nuclear wave peak spin quite correctly, right? So actually, we just keep the nuclear wave function, nuclear equation, same as the conventional surface hopping algorithm. However, the only difference is what? We just put this decoherence correction term, which is derived from the exact factorization in this electronic dynamics, electronic equation, okay? So without this one, we have additional, based on this one, we have additional term here, the quantum coherence term here, okay? And we actually, then we can apply the same technique as surface hopping dynamics. And the main part is this one. So here to evaluate this decoherence term, we have to calculate the quantum momentum from the independent trajectory, right? So here actually we introduce kind of auxiliary trajectories. And in the auxiliary trajectory, we put simply the frozen Gaussian, okay, where the width of the Gaussian is determined from the initial distribution function. Then we just follow the trajectories and they calculate the auxiliary trajectories and then calculate the quantum momentum. Then we evaluate this kind of term here. Okay, so this the equation is similar to the previous quantum coupled trajectory approach, but the efficiency is very, very improved. Okay, so we don't need to run the trajectories simultaneously. We just need to run trajectory one by one. Then if it fails, then we just throw this away. Okay, like the conventional trajectory surface hopping algorithm. So anyway, so we can do something like this. And actually, we got very, very nice results from that. So with the same example as the CTMQC, we can actually calculate correct the coherence pattern of the simple model system. And also, this is the one model system which contains what the multiple crossing of the coupling regions, which is very difficult to handle, actually, in principle, for the conventional surface hopping algorithm. But actually, our approach can actually deal with this kind of phenomenon very, very accurately. So actually, we compare the exact result and our result, then they are almost on top of each other. So we were so happy with that. But also, we can actually deal with the molecular system, the very simple molecular system to handle the rhodopsin, right? So this one is also doable. An important thing of this DISH-XF algorithm is that the actually surface hopping dynamics, we have kind of one weird stuff actually, which is, so we have two different representations to calculate the Born Oppenheimer populations. One is from the trajectories, and the other one is from the Born Oppenheimer coefficients. Okay, and actually surface hopping dynamics gives two different results from these two quantities. So this is called internal consistency. Okay. So actually, the surface hopping dynamics doesn't provide the internal consistency, the conventional surface hopping. However, if we do the same thing with this algorithm, actually we can see the internal consistency holds every time. So this is one, the improvement of this algorithm. So actually, we can do more realistic calculation. Actually, this one is in collaboration with the Michael, and so this is the PSB3 molecules, and actually we apply this dynamics. We apply this the dynamics algorithms to this simple molecules, and also the ring opening of the cyclohexadiene, and also as the Massimo Libucci introduced. Actually, we were also interested in the molecular model, so designing the efficient molecular models. So and also we tried to calculate the quantum yield with our approach. So we have two different molecular models we provided here and here. Then actually these results also were in collaboration with Professor Michael Filatov and Professor Chol-ho Choi. And actually this designed molecular model actually shows very, very high quantum means. But there is no experiment. So we need some collaboration, I guess, right? So the PyUNixMD program, the Python-based universal steady-state molecular dynamics program, actually is the program suite for trajectory-based steady-state molecular dynamics. And we have various dynamics algorithms, and they are already coupled to it. We actually provide many interfaces with many different quantum chemistry program packages, and they are actually public. Okay, so if you're interested, then you can just visit this GitHub site and you can download. Okay, so we have this MIT license. Also, we have published a paper in JCC, and this is open access. Essentially, there are all detailed explanations there. Okay, so you can find many, nice information of our, program package here. So this is just simple, input to run the dynamics actually. So we have to define some molecules and quantum chemistry calculations. And if you want to deal with the thermostat, then we have to define thermostat, then just one line of the dynamics here. So with this, simple input, then you can actually run the dynamics. Okay. So here actually we have this kind of quantum chemistry program with these different, excited state calculation methods. And we offer the several, with quantum classical algorithms, including the coherence corrected this surface hopping dynamics. So also, if you want to use different quantum chemistry package, then we are happy to provide the interface. Okay, so please contact me. And we have, well, this is the manual, and also actually, this is kind of recent result, a preliminary result from my friend Deepa Maitra in Rutgers University. Actually, we try to deal with the three-state intersection in uracil cation with the model Hamiltonian actually. But if you look at these equations, at this result, okay, the solid line is the result from the MCTDH. So this is going to be the most exact result. And we have the triangle dashed line is the result from the DISH XF. And other stuff is conventional surface hopping and surface hopping correction with kind of a little bit decoherent correction here. But as you can see here, actually, we were surprised to see that our approach, okay, can show the best result compared to the MCTDH result here. Okay, so we have correct population transfers, okay, because of the, I think, the quantum momentum term here, the decoherence correction term here. Okay, so this additional population transfer actually gives the correct dynamics, the correction population dynamics here. So this one will be submitted soon, I guess. And actually, we are also currently developing the new approaches. Okay, so as we see here, okay, anyway, the DISH algorithm actually uses the surface hopping, scheme. So the potential energy is like this one, and actually, exact one is this one, right? So we were trying to improve our approach based on the LM-fast dynamics. So LM-fast dynamics. So actually, if you look at this, the violet line, the exact one, it's actually LM-fast dynamics. So we have further population transfer because of the decoherence, then actually it missed one of the potential surfaces, adiabatic potential surfaces. So actually, we try to develop the new approach. Now the LM-fast dynamics plus the exact factorization. We tested these equations, okay, with different model systems, and actually it works quite well. Okay, it works quite well. So this one is actually going to be one additional the feature of the PyUNixMD. And actually, if you calculate the population transfers with different Thales models, then actually these LM-fast dynamics with the time-dependent now we actually, actually we try to put now the time dependence in the Prozhon Gaussian, so not Prozhon Gaussian anymore. And by adding this time dependence in these quantum momentum calculations, then actually we can obtain better result. Okay, we can actually obtain much better result. So this one will be added soon. And also I'm interested in the material calculations or more bigger system. And actually, as we all know, right, for a large scale system, it is extremely difficult to calculate the many body electronic states. Actually, nobody can, right? So we are actually deal with the orbitals, the single particle, wave function here. So here actually, throughout the material calculation, we want to employ the concept of orbitals to simulate this mixed quantum classical dynamics. And implementing this orbital concept in the mixed quantum dynamics or the electron nuclear correlation term is not that straightforward, so it's quite difficult. However, actually, we are actually this one is under development, and actually equation is almost done. So actually, I'm gonna introduce this non-analytic dynamics with the DFT framework, plus this decoherence corrections based on the factorization. Actually, this is gonna be very interesting if it is finished, okay? So currently, actually, we are dealing with this kind of system. So cis60. So actually, this simple, candidate of the photovoltaic cells, and we want to actually deal with the charge transfer, the exciton transfer, or polarons, and actually, kind of based on this kind of huge system, we run the dynamics of the electron density coupled to the nuclear motion. And here the nuclear motion is done with the classical path approximation, where which is suggested by the Oleg Prejda. So basically, we run just ground state dynamics, and based on these ground state trajectories, we run the electronic dynamics. So actually, we try these kind of things, and then apparently we can obtain completely different result with conventional surface hopping and the coherent induced one. So in conventional surface hopping, the orbitals are coherent almost, every orbitals in a single band is coherent with each other. However, in this decoherent induced one, actually we have different behavior here. So we can expect some more, different current density and so on. So we will actually, this one is under investigated. And actually, I would like to know one program, the wanted, so DFT program or methodology to perform the stable, the delta SGF calculations. Actually, for the material applications, for the approximate excited state calculations coupled to the dynamics, actually we need more practical methods with the larger size material. So actually, I'm interested in the delta SGF, ensemble DFT, and DFT with kind of the accurate functionals or machine learning, and so on. But actually, we tried many programs, okay, to use this delta SGF algorithm, but most of the program doesn't provide the stable result, which means sometimes there is some SGF error with some fixed, occupation numbers. So actually, I need this kind of DFT program or methodology to perform this stable, approximate excited state calculations. All right. So this is the summary. So in our group, we developed the PyUNixMD program, which is public here. Then actually we offer a lot of, with quantum classical dynamics. And actually this actually actively under development, and we will have some more interest